Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be answering all of your questions regarding Stranger Things 3 because it is July 6th. It came out on July 4th and I am already getting headaches. So just to give you guys some background information on me, I have obviously watched the season the first time from 3 a.m. till 10:30 a.m. Did a whole binge on July 4th because it came out at 3 a.m. and I am just about to finish my second watch of it. Then in between that time, I have one episode left in my second watch, and then in between that time I was just watching random scenes and then trying to go through social media and like figure out what people were wondering about and all of that fun information. But I'm kind of going crazy having to answer the same questions over and over and over and over and over again. And honestly, some of these I'm not going to go into as much detail because I already have 1,000 times and I'm actually just getting so tired of it. So if I don't answer any questions that you guys have, please ask them in the comments down below and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I have seen Stranger Things an unhealthy amount of times. I take pride in the fact that I have a very, very, very good sense of what they're doing with the show, how the Duffer Brothers and Sean Levy work in terms of what they would do with these characters. No offense to a lot of people on social media, but there's just a lot of unrealistic theories and thoughts and emotions circulating based on this new season and stuff that I don't think A, fits the characters at all, B, fits the Duffers or like all the amazing work they've done already. Just people need to take a deep breath. I know it was a very emotional season, but there's actually a lot of your questions are answered. And so I trying to find the answers because a lot of them I didn't know the answers to either, but after digging a little bit, I was able to find them within the season. So, and just within common sense. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into this. And again, if you guys have any questions or you want more detail, please let me know in the comments down below and I will try to explain further and we can chat about it and it'll be great. But for now, I just really want to answer these questions for you because, I don't know, I want to help you. Like, this is the type of video I would want to watch too. So we'll go into it. It'll be a fun time. And after, you guys can check out all my other Stranger Things videos because it is a tidal wave of content right now. And I'm actually like making all these series. It's great. So let's see. Okay, first question. Why did nobody hear Alexi get shot? Okay, so a few things. One, they're at a super loud carnival. Two, it was conveniently timed at the same time as a dart popping a balloon. Three, there was a silencer on the gun, and I don't know if you guys know much about silencers on guns, but they really do a good job of not making it sound like there was a gunshot. Like people who like snipers and stuff, they use this kind of thing and it helps you stay undercover and not draw attention to yourself. And so if you're already in a really loud place and you have a silencer on your gun and he was just walking kind of with it like casually at his side and then just went boom, it's really, really easy to blend into a crowd, especially when no one's looking for you or focused on you. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of terrible things in this world happen, but it's just the truth. Like, it's so easy to blend into a crowd. And therefore, no one noticed that Alexi got shot, unless they were looking directly at him and Murray Bauman was. But that's it. And also, like, I'm not sure anyone would think that would, like, actually be a thing that happened. I don't know. It's just, yeah, so that's it. That's that thing. Number 2. Why did Elle feel underpowered this season? Okay, well, she was actually much stronger this season than she's been in past seasons. We've seen her powers grow stronger and stronger and stronger. First getting drained from flipping the van, then in season 2 she was able to draw a train car closer to her, and then in this season fighting against Billy and she was and the Mind Flayer multiple times. She was very, very powerful, and we see this. Like, she just looked more powerful when she was fighting, but she was using her powers constantly this season. Like, constantly, multiple times an episode, which means more than multiple times a day. And as Mike pointed out, the brain damage, that is definitely a thing. It is not healthy for her to be doing this, and just like they always say, she gets drained like a battery. And so by the time the big climax happened, she was drained. Like, she was drained. I don't even, like, they've established this as a character trait, as like a thing for her. It's like a limit to her powers. She gets drained. And for like days straight, she'd been using her powers nonstop. And in the cabin, in episode Latin title, I don't know. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. But when they're in the cabin and she's searching for Billy, she's searching for him for like at least an hour or over that. That is very draining. Did you see how many tissues she used up? That's crazy. So Mike was right, first of all, about it being dangerous for her to do that. And ultimately, I did think it served as an obstacle later down the line. So that's that answer. Number 3, why didn't the Mind Flayer recognize Will? Honestly, having no Mind Flayer Will interaction this season, I think, is a total injustice, and that actually makes me really angry. And so that's my answer, is that there should have been. There definitely should have been. That's something we were robbed of. Number 4, I'm going to stop doing the numbers after this because I'm going to lose count. Why didn't we get more of blank character? Everyone who has a favorite character wishes we got more of their character. The fact is, there are 15 series regulars on Stranger Things, and they have to give them all screen time, all a storyline, all an arc, and it's as well as doing plot stuff. And in 8 episodes, no matter how long said episodes are, it's just not possible to give every character the amount of time that each fan wants them to have. I think given the time restraints that they do have, I think they did a decent job. I think maybe the season would have benefited from another episode just to give fans what they want, because that's obviously why we all love Stranger Things, is the characters. So that's something that the show does suffer from, but that's just the fact of the matter, is you can only give every character so much time, and it's like that in every show and in every movie. And I would have loved for Will to get more time, but as I've said in many things, it's just the way that they're writing it. It's just the way they're writing it. So, and they're the writers, they're the creators, they make that decision, not us. So, how will the Byers family come back in future seasons after they moved? Okay, probably visiting Hawkins, or Elle or Will felt something related to the Upside Down and a plot starts that way. But obviously they alluded to coming back during Christmas time. That's completely possible. If that does happen, season 4 will probably drop during Christmas time. And if that does happen, then we have to wait a year and a half, pretty much exactly, for the show to come back. And that sounds about right. So honestly, that's probably what's going to happen. So yeah, but I think they're going to come back because the plot is going to drag them back, or because they're already going to be visiting. But they will come back. Don't worry. They're the main characters. They're going to come back. I talk about this in my What's Next video. You guys can also check that out after you listen to my answers. Okay. Why did season 3 feel rushed? Because unlike season 2, the plot was not gradual. In an interview with the Duffer Brothers after season 1, they said that in season 1, in the first 10 minutes, you were thrust right into the plot like falling off a cliff. And then they wanted season 2 to be a lot more gradual, as we saw Will got slowly worse throughout the course of the season, and he kind of served as the sort of antagonist in that season. And in this season, it was quite different from season 1 and season 2, because in season 2 it was gradual. Season 1, you kind of dropped off the face of the earth, dropped off a cliff, and then in season 3, it's like, I guess, a ceiling slowly falling apart. It's like chunk, 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 and that's kind of what this season was. And that is why it felt like it was rushed, because major events started happening in episode 1, and then all of a sudden it was coming at you, and every scene had a lot more momentum in terms of things getting worse than it did in previous seasons, I guess. There was a lot going on this season, and so when things happened, like big things would start to happen early, and mysteries were being solved in the first or second episodes but those were not the biggest mysteries to solve. Like, there was a lot going on, and again, it's like chunk, 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 chunk. It's like one chunk falls, you deal with it, and you're like, whoa. And then another chunk falls, and you deal with it, and you're like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, the entire ceiling is just falling on top of you, and it's like very overwhelming. But again, because they have the Russia plot, and they have the upside down shadow monster plot, and then they have like the in-between, I guess, with Jopper, it's very, very chunky this season in terms of the conflicts and the character beats. And that is why it feels so rushed, is because there aren't many quiet moments, if that makes sense. And when there are, they're plot heavy quiet moments, and they're like snappy. They're not long. I thought it felt rushed too. I felt like every episode felt short, despite the fact that they were probably statistically longer than most Stranger Things episodes in the first and second seasons. So it just felt rushed, but it just had a lot going on. Maybe too much, but it did have a lot going on, which is why it felt rushed. And there was also one less episode than there was last season, and we kind of got used to having 9 episodes. How did the Mind Flayer get like 30 people when it could barely get Will in season 2? This is a question I don't fully know how to answer, but I'm watching the show a second time, and I'm getting a clear idea on it every time I watch it. I think the main thing is that Billy did not have the support system that Will did in terms of like quickly trying to resolve this issue. Another thing is that the Mind Flayer kind of realized what didn't work with Will and attacked more strategically and quickly in this season. Billy immediately started to affect other people, and it wasn't just Billy. The monster was there with Billy. So in the first season, in the second season with Will, it was just the shadow monster in the Upside Down going into Will. In this season, it was like a combination of the Mind Flayer as a physical monster because of the rats and being in Billy. So the combination allowed them to strike faster and in a more widespread way, which is why it felt like Billy didn't put up as much of a fight as Will did. And also, when you compare Will being possessed to Billy being possessed, I think they avoided doing a lot of Billy scenes so that they wouldn't be repetitive. And also, it just was different, again, because of all the people and the circumstances that surround Will versus Billy. And Billy is just a character that is starkly alone, and we see that. And that ended up being his downfall in terms of not being able to get the Mind Flayer out of himself. So, yeah. I don't know. But that's something I'm still trying to find more answers to, honestly. I'm still trying to understand what's going on with the Mind Flayer being in Hawkins. And obviously the opening of the gate kind of strengthened it, but I'm still trying to figure that out, so stick with me on that. But there's a lot to process right now. And I'm very emotionally invested in this show, and so it's hard to like separate facts from stress. Okay. Is there a gate in Russia? No. There was very, very briefly in the first scene of season 3. They were trying to open it and they failed, and it exploded everywhere, and that's why the other scientist died and Alexei got left to do it all himself. That is what happened there. The gate they could have tried again after the events of season 3 back in Russia, and they could have been successful. That is entirely possible. But during the events of season 3, other than that, there is no gate in Russia. During the events of season 3, they failed to open it, and that is why they ended up in Hawkins. It's explained in Alexei's dialogue that they had to try again in a place where Hawkins was healing. It was already weaker in terms of its fortification against the Upside Down, and therefore it was easier to get into it, which is why they came to Hawkins in the first place. So no, there's not a gate in Russia. It's not confirmed, but it's entirely possible that they successfully opened one later down the line after season 3, and that's how they got a Demogorgon. That's entirely possible. Don't know. Okay. Why did they eat chemicals? So they did reference the fact that Will did not eat chemicals in season 2, obviously. And so then they, immediately following that conversation, they said it would, just like Mr. Clark taught them, it would create a new substance. And so what I'm thinking is that it's really, like they have this urge to eat chemicals because it's creating a chemical reaction, which not only allows them to combust, and turn into the Mind Flayer, but it takes them from being human or Mind Flayer and like adds this whole mush to them, which somehow benefits the Mind Flayer. I know that's not a great explanation, but sometimes I just need to think. This made more sense to me a few minutes ago than it does right now. But okay, so they need the chemical reaction to fuel the change. Why'd Billy get no screen time? I kind of just touched on this, but they don't want to be repetitive about what happened with Will and what happened with Billy, because overall the kind of gradual possession would have gone pretty much the same way, although I don't think it was as gradual with Billy, I'm going to be honest. But I think he looked more sick immediately because Will got possessed in late October. No, not even, it was like in the beginning of November. That's when Will got possessed. Billy got possessed they said like 100-degree days in Indiana in July. It's very different temperatures, and obviously the Mind Flayer likes it cold, so he looked more affected more quickly. But yeah, they didn't want to be repetitive, so that's why they didn't do zoning out scenes or stuff like that. But I do agree Billy should have gotten a little bit more screen time, because I feel really bad for him. I never thought I'd say that, but I do. His death was really sad. Okay. Why'd the Scoop Troop risk their lives? Okay, they're kids. I know that you guys are all like, there's just too much, what is it called? What is the English, why is the English language leaving me right now? I'm just going to try and word around it because I'm literally not able to think straight right now. Okay. The amount that they can tolerate believing. That's like the amount that fans, the threshold they have of what they can believe and what they can't believe. A lot of people can't believe that the Scoop Troop would risk their lives. Okay, so initially they were not intending to get dragged into the amount that they got dragged into. They were just trying to crack the code and be American heroes and potentially get proof that something was wrong by having Erica break in, and immediately that's when things started to go worse than they intended, and it fell apart. So I think their actions were more innocent-minded than it seems at first. It was more surface level than getting dragged into like an all-out like heist of a Russian base. They were not intending to be that drastic at first, and then it went downhill. And so when they got stuck in the elevator, and then they had to if they didn't get out of the elevator with Steve putting the toxin thing under the door to help them get out and into the base, they would have been stuck in that elevator forever. There would have been no way of them getting out of that elevator without getting caught. So they had to get out through the Russian base, and they had to get a name tag. So they go to get a key card to help them unlock the elevator button so they can get out safely. And in order to get the key card, they had to sneak around, and sneaking around led to them getting caught, and then they got caught. Like, that's, I think, very believable in terms of they were not successful in being sly. And yeah, so yeah, okay. They're just really naive kids. I think given the fact that they kind of did something stupid, they managed to find their way out of it in a pretty clever way. So, why does everyone keep saying Will is gay, or he's just shy / quiet? Okay. I'm just going to read from this. I am done answering this question. The Duffers would not spend 3 seasons coding him as gay if it was just a phase. Refer to my Will Byers character study video, or to literally all of season 3 to talk about why Will Byers is not straight and not into girls. And I don't know how many times I have to talk about this because it's getting kind of annoying, but again, I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you. At this point, they have written it into his character, and it is canon that he is at least different. And a lot of people are talking about him after the season with his "I'm not gonna fall in love" line being, or in his gross lines, interpreting that as him being ace or aro, and that is completely, for anyone who's worried about that, like, that it's completely okay. It's all about how you interpret what he says. But the bottom line is that he is at least not into girls. And I honestly, I've given you guys every shred of proof there is in this show. Check out the video I just referenced. And in season 3, like, it, and my reviews of season 3 too, it's just like, it, I don't know what you want me to say. I didn't go into Stranger Things being like, let me find a character and make this out of it. Like, I wasn't even thinking anything of it until after season 2, like when the snowball scene happened. That's when I noticed. And they just keep throwing it in our faces. So it's like, we're not talking about it anymore because it's there. Just watch the freaking show. It's there. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, is Hopper the American in the cell? Possibly. It could be many people. It could be Dr. Brenner. It could be any of the numbers. But I think the strategic placement of the scene, after we're like sobbing and led to believe he's dead with that emotional speech, and it's so sad, and then they do the end credits and we're like, oh my god, they ended the season this way, and then they're like, psych, he could still be alive. And I think that placement is very suspicious. And also, with all the other bodies that got obliterated by the upside down laser portal gun, their bodies were shown as like melted corpses, and that we didn't see Hopper's body. We didn't even see the lasers hitting him, and the Duffers always say that if it's a significant main character, they will die on screen. And Hopper didn't die on screen. So, and we can also refer to Murray's phone number. So go back to Stranger Things and watch the scene where they call to get Paul Reiser's help and Dr. Owen's help, and Hopper leaves Murray Bauman's phone number. If you call that number, it actually brings you to Murray Bauman's phone, like, voicemail, and there's a hint that Hopper could still be alive, and I will talk about that in a video that I'm going to record soon about things you might have missed in Stranger Things 3. Okay. Why did Elle lose her powers? Brain damage. I don't, like, where else would that blood be coming from? She's bleeding from her brain. It's brain damage. And she will heal. Her powers will come back. Okay. Why did they drop Will's storyline after episode 3? They didn't. It'll continue in season 4. Will's storyline, Will is very, very important to the writers of the show. And it may not seem like that to some people who are huge Will fans, but he is. And they're spanning his storyline across all of the seasons of Stranger Things. I talk about it in my What's Next video. His story is not over after this. His storyline in season 3 is not done. It's a really heavy and deep storyline, and there's a lot going on inside Will and in his mind, and he's like, this boy has got a lot going on, and they can't resolve it all in one season when they have to focus on the actual plot of the show. So it will continue, I promise. And plus, he was really shooting people down whenever they tried to talk about it. So Will kind of shot down his own storyline. But it will come back. The questions that are left in this season will be answered, and the effects of how he felt this season will continue to fester. Okay. Why did Joyce move them out of Hawkins if Jonathan, Will, and Elle need their friends? If you were a mother and living in Hawkins resulted in your son dying and then not being dead, and then you find out he's in an alternate dimension and bad things happened to him because this monster came and was putting like eggs in his stomach, and then he was puking up slugs for a year, and he had incredible PTSD, and then the alternate dimension like comes back and your son gets possessed and everyone dies, including someone that you wanted to probably settle down with for the rest of your life and you absolutely loved that person. They're dead because of all these things happening in your town. Then, months later, when you think you're finally, possibly, potentially safe, everything falls apart again and you almost lose both of your sons again. And you lose the one person your age that you had left. Would you crack? Would you feel like the safest thing for your children, for your family, and the best thing for you and the people around you would be to leave, to remove yourself from such a dangerous place, regardless of if their friends are there? Yes. She obviously was not happy about having to separate them from their friends and their lives, but I think when it came down to it and she had to choose between them potentially dying again by living in that town, which is clearly not safe, or leaving, she chose for them to leave. And honestly, it's actually a pretty rational decision. So as much as I hated it, like I truly hated it, and I was sobbing more so from the Byers leaving and all that whole goodbye scene than from Hopper, because I was kind of like in like intense denial about Hopper. But his speech was also like raining down on my head. It just makes sense that she would leave. It just makes sense. And finally, how did they get communist Soviet people, communists, into Hawkins with nobody noticing? Mayor Klein. And Mayor Klein was not working alone. He said he had eyes everywhere. He said, if something happened, he said, something pops up, I get a call. I have eyes everywhere. He has people working for him. And he's the mayor of the town. He has all the power. And so it wouldn't be that hard for them to come in, honestly. In the 80s, didn't have the type of background checks that we do now. It just, the world was different. And if the mayor, the person in charge, the person that like everyone trusts to protect them from the United States' biggest enemy at the time of 1985, people aren't going to think he's like teaming up with communists, and so they're probably not going to be very suspicious. It's just the fact of the matter. So honestly, I don't think it was that hard to get them there. And it was all part of the Starcourt Mall. The Starcourt Mall was all like one big cover-up. And so it was all very hidden and under the rug, and it was different. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the questions that I have noticed. But if you guys have any more questions, please let me know in the comments down below and I will try to answer them. I hope I answered any of your questions with some sort of good explanation. And if you want more explanation, let me know. I'll try and talk about it more with you in the comments. And really, I think I made this video because I was sick of people hating on Stranger Things for things that didn't happen or weren't explained when they were. So if you want to talk about things, more things that you or anyone, I don't know, that like, if you want to talk about things that you might have missed, like tiny little details. The reason I watch Stranger Things 12, 13, 14 times, because every time I watch it, I see more things. If you want to talk about some of those things in season 3, the ones that I've already seen at least, I will be making a video about that. If you want to talk about what is next for Stranger Things after season 3, I have a whole video dedicated to that. I have a spoiler and a non-spoiler review, and obviously this video will be going up. And then I also have been making theories, and I am very excited about some of the theories I have. So there's a lot of Stranger Things content on this channel throughout the next week, and so get excited. There's a lot to talk about. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm very excited about what they're going to do with the season, with this show going forward. I was nervous at first, but I'm not anymore because honestly, after watching it a second time, I realize I have a clearer picture of what they're going to do going forward, and it'll be okay. I'm sorry if I sounded a little bit aggressive in this video. I didn't mean to. I'm just trying to be succinct, and I know that people get angry about certain things, and I'm trying to calm them down or like ease their worry about things where I don't think they have to worry, like Will's storyline or the Byers not coming back or Hopper being dead. People are really angry about those things, but honestly, I don't think we have to be, because I think that there are answers, and those answers are ones that people will like. So we're going to talk about Stranger Things a lot going forward, and as I said, we need to fill this void of time with as much content as we can in terms of theories, and we need to have a lot of fun with it, and it'll be great. So guys, again, let me know in the comments down below anything that you're thinking, and be nice, and subscribe if you want to see all of my coverage from Stranger Things. Please check out my channel and go to those videos. Check out my Will Byers character study if you're more confused than ever about his plot or character devices or whatever, because I don't think it's that confusing anymore. I feel like I have Will Byers to a T at this point. But there's a lot of stuff in that video that happened that is missing because season 3 came out like 2 weeks after I made it. Not even 2 weeks, like a week after I made it. So we'll see. But yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, or if I answered any questions that you guys really wanted to know the answer to. And yeah, and have a good summer, and keep watching Stranger Things on Netflix now. I'm gonna go watch the final episode of season 3 for a second time, and then I'll watch the entire series again. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.